Hey. So, Mario Party. It's a series of highly competitive video games published by Nintendo that stopped being good consistently around 2007. Man, I'm old. And so, with the announcement of Mario Party Superstars about 2 months ago, I might be a little late, my RNG spirit has been reignited, and so I decided to make a definitive, objective list approved by Nintendo themselves of the top 20 minigames in all of Mario Party, because 10 was too little. You might be asking why I'm making this now of all times, and it's basically just because I felt like it. It seemed like it'd be a fun thing to do. Finally, this list is technically ordered, but don't take the order too seriously, and it should go without saying that there's hundreds of minigames in this series, so it's pretty damn hard to narrow it down to my favorites. This is my opinion, yada yada, let's begin. Shell-shocked. This minigame truly shows just how violent and desperate the Mario cast can be. I mean, everyone infuses their bodies into tanks just so they can destroy the opposition. I know they want the Power Star and all, but it just seems like a bit much to me. Now, in regards to the actual minigame, it's very good, it's shell-shocked, it's a classic. You have to utilize your strafing well, you have to aim and place good shots, and it kind of reminds me of those old school tank flash games that you'd like play on like free websites and stuff. And if anybody knows what I'm talking about, that you're also all probably too old just like me, and yeah, shell-shocked is a good minigame. Bootane Gallery. Mario Party 8 suffers from one of the worst minigame selections in the entire series, primarily due to the majority of the minigames having really dull motion control mechanics. This is one of those few minigames that actually makes use of the motion controls in a good way, and it makes for the best minigame in Mario Party 8, and it's not even close in my opinion. I mean, it's an all-rail shooter stuffed into a minigame with a Mario flair. That's pretty nifty. Now we just need a full game based off sniping boos like Link's crossbow train, and we're all good to go. Spider Stomp. This minigame is pretty creative, kind of like Bootane Gallery in the sense that it's basically a game genre for a minigame. A cooperative shoot 'em up for a minigame is a great concept, and it works really well here. I always remember really wanting this minigame whenever a 2v2 would come up in Mario Party 7, because I normally don't really prefer the 2v2s. Just hope your teammate is competent and doesn't shoot you in the back, and this is lots of fun. Running of the Bulb. Running of the Bulb is weird, since it might be the only 4-player minigame in the series where you're all actually intended to cooperate to win. It's really complex and unique in that regard, for a Mario Party minigame of course. Having actually worked together to fend off ghosts, save your awful comrades who have been possessed whilst doing an escort mission, it kind of sounds like a quest out of World of Warcraft more so than a Mario Party minigame. It's a shame there hasn't really been another minigame like this, as it's a really fun outlier for minigames in general. Although I do wish it was a bit harder to actually succeed, because if you know what you're doing, then you're pretty much guaranteed to win. But it's still fun. Mushroom Mix-Up. Oh, Mushroom Mix-Up. What a classic among classics. Everyone and their dog loves Mushroom Mix-Up. It's one of those minigames that no one is sad to see come up. It's just so simple, but it's just a straightforward premise, and it just works so well. It's like the basic of the basics in terms of just one of those minigames where it just keeps ramping up. It gets slowly more and more crazy. This is like the original minigame that kind of has that concept, and it's great. And it's also good that it's returning to Mario Party Superstars. Clock Watchers. That's right, I'm putting a mic minigame from Mario Party 7 on here. Although you don't really need the mic to play this one, it's more fun if you can. Having a randomized time and having to count the seconds in your head is a great idea for a minigame. Having a bunch of people go silent as they all count the seconds, waiting in anticipation. Only to see that I'm the best counter in the universe is pretty great. Also, apparently your character does a victory pose if you get super close to the time. I actually didn't know that could happen prior to recording this, and then the background music broke as well. It's kind of weird, but I don't know. You know, it's Clock Watchers. It was just very intimidated by my amazing timing skills. Anyways, yeah, with this minigame I can finally use all that time counting while staring at the ceiling to good use. What Goes Up. Jump higher and higher as you abuse paratroopers in order to reach the stars. This is a really simple platform minigame that I just kind of find satisfying. There's not much more to it than that. But this minigame actually has 2 different versions depending on if it's daytime or nighttime in Mario Party 6. And the other version has you falling to avoid paratroopers instead. And it feels really satisfying, empowering even, to just narrowly avoid all these flying turtles. The 2 different versions of the minigame are equally fun, I feel, and you know, just enjoyable. I don't know what you want from me. And no, it's not cheating that this minigame has 2 versions and is on one spot of the list. I mean, Track and Yield. The Mario characters are being abused once again by being forced to jump over electrified fences, and that's my kind of minigame. As you'll notice, I'm a big fan of like the obstacle course style minigames generally. They're easy to understand while being highly skill reliant, which I like. I don't really know what else to say, honestly. It's a frantic minigame about jumping fences. It's just fun. They should probably add this to the Olympics, though. Bobsled Run. If you don't recognize the glory that is Bobsled Run, then that means you're too young to appreciate the finer things, because this is one of the few 2v2 minigames that everyone is happy to see. It has a great theme, it's simple but just pure fun. It's one of the only like racing themed minigames in Mario Party that actually works really well. And honestly, yeah, this one should just like be a staple, just because so many other like Mario Party racing games, they're just not as good. They're just not as good, but this one, it's good. You're on a bobsled, and who doesn't like being on a bobsled? Button mashers. Alright, so here's the deal. I normally hate the button mashing minigames in Mario Party because I'm bad at them, and my friends and even my own brother have the audacity to be far better than me, so I always lose at them. However, button mashers, the minigame doesn't rely as much on raw visceral speed, hammering the A button to the point where your finger feels like it's gonna fall off. No, this one involves contorting your hand in weird shapes to keep pressing a bunch of buttons at the same time until you're eventually mastering like 6 of them on the controller until the other person relents. If you have 2 people who are good at this minigame, it could just keep going and devolve into suffering until someone just dies, like in real life. And really, like, isn't that why we all play Mario Party? I think it is. Treadmill Grill. Alright, so I'm like a big fan of basically all the minigames where you just kind of like beat each other up. Some are better than others, and I think this is probably up there as one of the best ones. I think it's probably the best one from the N64 games where you just beat each other up. It just has all the concepts I like, you know, there's obstacles to avoid while you're fighting each other, while the arena is slowly getting, you know, smaller and smaller. I always like that sort of escalation of danger while you're fighting each other at the same time, as opposed to it staying like relatively consistent. So, yeah, plus it has Potobos, and those guys are just, you know, they're magical fireballs that just stare at you, and it's good. I like it. It's fun. Booksquirm. One of the only good things to come out of Mario Party is this minigame. Booksquirm is a great theme and is once again one of my favorite general ideas for minigames. Avoid some sort of obstacle as things get more and more hectic as time goes on, while there's probably some players who will try to sabotage others. Also, the theme of book pages coming down on you is just neat. Take Me Home. Alright, so Take Me Home is a pretty straightforward minigame that is mostly this high on the list just due to nostalgia. I remember loving it as a kid whenever it would come up, and I think part of that is just because it speaks to me on a deep personal level. Avoiding the lightning on the ground is, for some reason, something I could just do in my sleep. There's even a minute-long version of this minigame that you can do in like a special minigame mode, and even I can do that consistently. So, am I just putting this minigame really high up because I'm really good at it? Maybe, but you know, hey, it's still fun. Mario Mechs. This is the only 1 vs 3 minigame on the entire list, and it is a banger of a minigame. Now, there are plenty of good 1 vs 3 minigames out there. I just find the majority of them are pretty unbalanced. Most are either heavily in the favor of the 1 player or heavily in the favor of the 3 players. Usually, more often than not, it's in the favor of 3 players. But Mario Mechs you would think would be similar, just considering the nature of the minigame. But if you have players that know the way of the Mario Mech, this can be pretty close. Plus, it's just a really cool minigame in general, and I remember I would go back in this minigame mode and play it on repeat when I was but a wee lad. Good times. Good times. Shock Absorbers. Alright, so this minigame is kinda sorta cheating, I guess, because it's a minigame in Mario Party 7, but it's not in the normal party mode. You have to go into the Deluxe Cruise mode, which is this 8-player variant where you play like a select, you know, selection of unique minigames for that mode, and this is one of the minigames for that mode. The thing is, though, there's basically no reason for this minigame to be 8 players. This will work perfectly fine as a 4-player minigame or a dual minigame. And yeah, it's basically just, you know, Simon Says and just keeps getting faster and faster and faster on steroids. And I like it. I like that the minigames that just slowly speed up. You know, it's kind of like Shy Guy Says in that regard, and this one's just really fun, and I'm surprised it hasn't really been done before, and that's only like restricted to this mode. But the minigame itself is still really good. I like it a lot, so I'm going to put it up here. Tock Hop. One of the best dual minigames. It's such a simple but great concept. You have 2 players, they're on a clock hand, and the hands will keep spinning in different directions and speeds until one of the players is eventually knocked off. And it will happen, because if you have 2 players who know what they're doing, this minigame can last a long time, and it gets crazy hard in time. It's just another one of those minigames that has that simple concept of it slowly getting harder and harder and harder, but this time it's in a dual minigame format. And I don't know, I'm just a sucker for these kind of minigames, and, you know, I like clocks too. Who doesn't like clocks? Fish Upon a Star. This is probably my favorite fighting arena minigame of them all. I just like the whole theme of it. The ground breaking around you from mythical flying sheeps while having to account for the other players trying to beat you up at the same time is great. After a while, more ground will just break off everywhere, it'll get more and more treacherous, and you'll really have to pay attention to where you're landing. I really like that aspect of this minigame, how you're having to really pay attention to where you're landing, I think even more so than a lot of the other fighting, you know, minigames. In terms of other minigames of this style, I do think the Final Countdown from Mario Party 7 also deserves an honorable mention. I just didn't want to put too many fighting minigames, you know, on here. I wanted to add some more variety. Also, man, the AI are just so bad at fighting minigames, like, what are you doing, Wario? I basically let you win and you just... Funsticle Course, or Thunderwall, or Magical Journey. Honestly, I can basically put all of the Mario Party 7 Bowser multiplayer minigames on here, since they're all top tier. For one, the Bowser minigames in Mario Party 7 are just the best Bowser minigames in the entire series by far. They just feel perfect for Bowser. The Madman forces the party to go through this brutal obstacle course of despair, trying to destroy you constantly, and I love how all 3 of the minigames are themed like this. Thunderwall has you climbing up a wall with rotating spike balls whilst the Koopa Kids try to use flamethrowers on you, while there's other players nearby who are probably trying to sabotage you. Funsticle Course is an accurate name in general, where you're running from the right while avoiding destruction. And Magical Journey, while probably be my least favorite of the bunch, still has a similar theme and is also very good. So yeah, the Bowser minigames in Mario Party 7 are they're just really good and fun to do, even if you have the stars or coins or whatever at stake. And I think that actually adds to the minigames, because they're all themed with this, you know, huge element of danger, and there's always going to be something at stake at the same time, which just adds a lot to it. So yeah, this spot basically goes to any of them. Probably Thunderwall or Funsticle Course, you can take your pick. Control Stick. Okay, so Mario Party 6, like, probably easily has my favorite battle minigame selection, and I'm always really looking forward to a battle minigame coming up in Mario Party 6, because it has some of the best minigames in the game, arguably. They're pretty much all really good, but Control Stick is just, it's just raw, visceral fun. It makes really good use of the 2 analog sticks. As per usual, the theme of the types of minigames I like continues here. It keeps getting faster and faster until you can't keep up and you're gonna mess up. And I don't know, I don't really know how to, like, analyze this one. There's not much to say. What you see is what you get. It's just very simple, very easy to understand, but just really tense and fun. And since it's a battle minigame, there's a lot at stake. And I think when you have a lot at stake, having a minigame like this is even better, because the tension is just, you know, that much more palpable. So when you do make that mistake, you'll throw your controller on the ground with that much more force. Maybe. I would never do that. But yeah, Control Stick is it's a very good minigame. It's kind of hard to say the name this many times in a row, but I like Control Stick. And number 1 goes to the only minigame that truly deserves it, and that's Pushy Penguins. And if you're out there, you know, saying, why would you put a silly minigame that involves penguins pushing you at number 1, you clearly don't have the high IQ needed to appreciate the minigame that is Pushy Penguins. No, this is not just a meme. Pushy Penguins is beautiful. It's incredible. You avoid penguins, and really, like, I don't see any other minigames out here that have a concept as good as this. Okay, but like, would I actually put this minigame as my favorite minigame in the entire series of Mario Party? I don't know, maybe. It's really fun. It's a really good, just fun minigame, but so is every other minigame on this list. You know, the order on this list isn't, you know, super concrete set in stone. I really like all of these minigames. I like Mario Party in general. There's very few, you know, straight up bad minigames in Mario Party. I mean, usually the only minigames in this series that are actually just bad are ones where you, like, pick something and then luck decides the winner, you know, stuff like that, which I do think there's a few too many of those. And you'll notice that a lot of my favorite minigames on here involve avoiding obstacles, things escalating, there's tension involved, skill and whatnot, and they were just, you know, I think all these minigames have a fair bit of that and are all well designed. Pushy Penguins, I'm going to give the number 1 spot, partially because it has the name Pushy Penguins, and 2, because it just embodies what I like about minigames in general. So, you know, if a minigame you really liked did not appear on here, I'm not really sorry, because, I mean, what do you expect? There's hundreds of minigames in this blasted series. And, yeah, Mario Party is pretty fun. Hopefully Superstars will be good, and I hope you have a great day.